Alright, welcome everyone. Today we will have a short Mirage guide. Basically, a lot of people asked me to help them with Mirage, so I decided to just make a video about it. It's gonna be easier, and perhaps it will help understand the class better. Because right from the start, Mirage doesn't have a strict rotation. I mean, if you wanna follow any rotation, you can go to some crows, but for the new player it will not help you as much, because first of all it's quite confusing, and without understanding why are you doing such skill, you will basically most likely fail in raids or even on golem. The next thing is that even pro players are doing rotation a bit differently, because it's a bit personal preference what skills are you using. For example, the Mirage's rotation depends on, of course, your cooldowns, like weapon or utility cooldowns, on your endurance, and on your weapon swap cooldown, and also on your shadow cooldowns, and basic stuff the phases of the boss, or which attack he's gonna do next. So it may be quite confusing. However, we'll try to get over it. First, we need to apply some boons. I forgot to do that myself.
Is a happy raid squad. This rose has skills using our state-of-the-art bombs.
Just the standard ones. And we only need vulnerability. I remember about those, and 4 million HP golem. Also, you would like to take food. I'm using tuned icicles because they're cheap, and I don't have craftsmanship to get the other ones. Anyway, basically, Mirage's core mechanic is ambush. Basically, you should know it that his dodge is not regular dodge, it gains him Mirage Cloak. Basically it's dodge on steroid, and it allows you to cast so-called ambush skills. As you can see, for the axe it's called imaginary axes, and you basically release some axes that does torment. So for example, if I dodge and press 1, I will do this skill. 2 axes crossing over the hitbox of the boss. That's simple. Also, with the trade, this one, Infinite Horizon, you need to get outside of the combat. When you gain Mirage Cloak, your illusions also gain it, and it's very important ones. Because if I were to spawn some illusions, I'm gonna do it really quickly, like this. Normally illusion will just do some auto attacks, it doesn't matter. However, if I dodge, and I don't even press 1, I don't proc imaginary axis, the illusion itself is gonna do it. So that's nice. Of course, you also wanna proc the imaginary axis yourself, so you can cast it like this. If you have 3 illusions, you can see that there's some torment and bleeding on the boss. With 3 illusions, there's gonna be a lot of more torment and bleeding. Speaking of which, you should know that Mirage is pretty situational pick. It doesn't suit all the bosses. However, for some specific bosses, it's the best class, and learning it will help you advance those harder bosses like Desmina or Lagos Assassin Twins. As you can see, our main source of damage is torment and bleeding. We apply a lot of torment and bleeding with just auto attacks. There are some other skills that apply torment and bleeding, or traits. For example, we have this, that basically illusions have a chance to cause bleeding. We have this that applies bleeding. We also have this that applies torment and shatters, etc. There's a lot of bleeding and torment. Just keep in mind that torment is condition that applies more damage if the boss is moving. For example, boss with high movement rate is Matthias, because his aggro mechanic is shit, so he's gonna move a lot, and Torment will deal more damage on him. So the next thing that you need to know is that the auto-attacking and dodging is really important for the Mirage. However, you can also see this trait. Like basically I will go over the traits of Mirage because they're quite important. We can also apply this. So basically it will just a bit increase our torment stack. When we, for example, auto attack, you will be able to see that on our third auto attack there is like the spinning axe from this trait. That deals some torment. However, remember, and this is like the main rule of Mirage, you need to have 3 illusions that are represented by these dots all the time. 3 illusions. You could see this is one way to spawn illusion, your Axe2, Lingering Thoughts. Basically how it works is that when you use it, there's like this orc thingy at the end. If it's close to the boss, it will spawn illusion. For example, if I use it right here, it will not spawn illusion. Usually you just wanna use it on the boss, so it will apply some damage as well. However, Mirage has some other ways to spawn illusions. First of all, you should know the difference between illusion and phantasm. Basically you have your torch 5 and your pistol 4. These are phantasm skills, and this will basically spawn some guy that does one specific attack for the weapon, and after like 2 seconds it's gonna transform into illusion. So you can watch it closely. You can see illusion for duelist, it does one attack and it transforms into me, into illusion. Same goes for torch 5. We will have illusionary mage and we have illusion. And keep in mind that there is delay of like 2 seconds before the illusion is spawned. It's gonna be quite important later when we're gonna talk about rotation. Last thing that causes you to spawn illusions is this trait, self-deception. Basically, what it does is that if you have at least 1 illusion, so we're gonna use it, and use any deception skill, you will spawn illusion. Deception skills are Crystal Sense and Jaunt, and it's important to have at least 1 of them. For example, if you are doing feedback mechanic on Matthias, you replace Crystal Sense, but you never replace Jaunt. You need at least 1 deception skill. So, when I cast Crystal Sense, I'm gonna spawn illusion, just like that. I can Jaunt, I will spawn next illusion. Oh, and by the way, you should know that these mirrors that spawn after this skill and your healing skill, not this one but the Oasis one, also makes you gain amber skills, and so does your illusion. As you can see, you should try to pick up those mirrors as often as you can. So as for the training on your rotation, first you need to understand the basics, and the basics are dodging, managing your endurance, and auto-attacking. That's like the core, and you shouldn't jump straight into the rotation without learning this thing, and it's really important. On the golem, for example, you can spawn 3 illusions to like test how much DPS you can get, and basically you should like use Axe2 and then, for example, double Jaunt, so you have 3 illusions like Axe2 and double Jaunt. Then you can start auto-attacking and using your dodges to proc the axes, for example like this. Just keep weapon swapping whenever it's available, dodge after, just like that. With just those things, you can easily get up to 23k DPS. If you are reaching like 22, 23k, it's good. Also without infusions, of course, because I'm cheap fuck and I don't have infusions. So yeah, you should try this out, just auto-attacking and dodging. Maybe I will try to post a video in the description of me doing this. Also, when it comes to endurance, you should know that you have energy sigils in your offhand weapon. Basically, when you swap to this weapon, you gain like half of this bar. So you should always weapon swap when... wait, the other way. You should never weapon swap when you are above 50, above half of this bar, because then you're gonna waste the endurance that you gain from weapon swapping. And yeah, this is like the baseline, basically. Auto-attacking and dodging with 3 illusions is the baseline, like this 23k, and from this point you should be getting around 30 stacks of bleeding on average on the boss, and around 45 stacks of torment. If you have a bit less, try to push it and practice it more. Also, when it comes to ambush skills, it's kind of buggy, because sometimes you may not proc it. Basically, when you watch like your auto attack, you will see that like the last auto attack of the chain is this spin, when you spin. And basically, normally, you should dodge after the third auto attack to do the ambush skill and to not interrupt your chain. However, on Mirage, this is sometimes not the case, because if you do this, your character might not do the ambush skill at all. Like, you try to spot the X-axis that go through the boss. I will try to like fail this even while dodging. Yep, I dodged. And again, nothing. And what I did now, I swapped weapon and dodged. And this is quite important, because basically I've noticed that your ambush skill has like 100% chance of going through if you use any skill before. Basically, it's kind of hard sometimes to proc ambush just by auto-attacking, but you can do it. For example, I've noticed that, at least on Sylvari, when I'm dodging a second auto-attack of the chain, there is high chance that I will ambush skill and complete the third auto-attack. Like this. But also when it comes to dodging, like I mentioned, for example, if you are auto-attacking and you wanna dodge, you can, for example, use skill 4 dodge, and it will instantly proc the ambush skill. So if you cancel your auto attack by any skill or by weapon swap, you're guaranteed to proc the ambush skill. Like, for example, like that. Even if I like dodge at the wrong time, I might not proc it. So for example, getting like, given the fact that you gain endurance after weapon swapping, it's really good habit to build muscle memory around that. That you weapon swap and press dodge immediately, because like the ambush skill will go, like it's guaranteed basically. Alright, so we talked that Mirage has a lot of torment and poison. However, we did not talk about why Mirage is really good on certain bosses. Basically, it's because of confusion. Almost exclusively Mirage condition that on the boss does shit damage. Like, I'm gonna use confusion skill on the golem. You will see the numbers, and there it is, 75 confusion to burning 1k. It's not much. However, confusion deals damage on the skill activation. So basically, when the boss is doing any skill, like auto attack or anything really, it procs additional damage, and you can see that like on the tooltip, that confusion deals 77 damage, 320 damage to players, but that doesn't matter, and 637 damage to non-players on skill use. So there is huge difference, and bosses that has like high skill per second are really good for the Mirage. For instance, this might be Largus Assassins, where currently I think like on Golem, Mirage has 28k DPS or 29. On Twins it can be 46, so you almost like, I mean not double, but you gain a lot of DPS from the confusion stacks. Like I mentioned, on the Golem it will not deal much damage. However, your goal next is to apply confusion on the Golem by using various skills. We're gonna talk about it later. And to not only keep your DPS and your average 30 what's it called? 30 bleeding and 45 torment stacks, but also to get confusion on the boss and improve your overall DPS. So, first things first, Shatter. As you can see, as you can see, our F2 Shatter, Cry of Frustration, deals a lot of confusion on its own, and also does some torment and blindness. However, due to this trait, when we blind the boss, we get more confusion on the boss. Yeah, and this basically means that our Shattering, especially F2, will deal a shit ton of confusion on the boss. Also other Shatters, like every of them, does some confusion and some blindness. So your F2 is like primary skill to apply confusion, and the others are just like meh, but still useful. So, just to quickly demonstrate, remember that when you shatter, your illusion, like each of them basically disappears, and also you shatter like yourself. So if you stand here and you press F2, you will not apply confusion on the boss. Your illusions will, but you will not. So you need to stand a bit closer, and if you shatter, basically like, you have no illusions, but you have confusion on the boss. However, as I talked before, you need to have free illusions all the time, right? And how we gonna shatter them and apply them really quickly? Using like this isn't really quickly. I mean, not quick enough, let's say, because that took like 2 seconds, and we don't wanna 2 seconds without our illusions, because it's basically DPS loss. And things that will come in handy are 3 things that we talked about on how to spawn illusion. So basically, we will use one of our phantasms, we will use X2, and we will use one of our deception skill. Remember that when you use phantasm, like towards 5, it will transfer into illusion after like 1 or 2 seconds. So we have some time to work on, basically, but we're gonna get to it later. Just for now, try to do this on your own on the Golem, to use skill 4, then skill 2, and when you are mid skill 2, like inside the boss, try to use the shatters on him. First you can start with just F2, so it's gonna look like this. And then we're gonna use one of our deception skills, for example Crystal Sands, and we have 3 illusions. Wait. Just let me refresh them. and like in full speed it's gonna look like this, for example. And 3. It wasn't that fast, and we can improve this, but for now try to do it like a few times in the golem. Also keep in mind that, for example, if I use pistol 4 and then right after this jaunt, I will not get any illusions, because I need to have at least one illusion active. So if I'm gonna use like pistol, jaunt, and pistol, shatter and jaunt, I will not spawn 2 illusions, only 1. Because I like basically jaunted without illusion active. So the timing on this also is important. However, we still have some time to improve this. First of all, you can see that our cooldowns on the skill 4 and 5 are quite similar. Like we have 20 seconds and 25, and here we have 24 and 24. So this is basically the same. This means that you can get cool muscle memory by using the skills together. So for example, wait, I'm gonna spawn 3 illusions. So basically you can use like skill 4, 5, 2 and shatters. Also, after F2, we still like ourselves count as illusion. And after F2, we still have time to use F1. Even though we will not have any illusions, we still count for the shatter, and it's some nice additional confusion on the boss. So it can look like this. And jaunt. And we have 3 illusions. Ready to DPS the boss again. And we have quite a lot of confusion. Anyway, you can try to practice this on boss. So you can try to practice the opening. For instance, you can like do the opening the same way you would like to respawn your illusions. So you can start on pistol, you can use pistol 4 or 5, axe 2, and for example crystal sands. You will have your illusions quickly, and this will be opening. So like this. And yeah, you can dodge to get endurance, weapon swap, and now for the practice in the golem, you can say basically every time I am on torch, I will shatter. You can see that the F2 cooldown is shorter than the phantasm, and each time you are on the torch, you can tell to yourself, alright, I will shatter. So when I'm on torch, I'm gonna use skill 4 or 5, skill 2 and both of the shatters, and then one of the deception skills. And I can continue to DPS, I can pick up a mirror. I can just DPS, I can use skill 4 or 5, doesn't matter really, just for practice. And again, I'm on the torch, I can use skill 4, 5, shatter and jaunt for the quick illusions. Try that on the golem, try to like even look at the skills that you're pressing to make sure you're not screwing up the order, because it's quite important. For example, if you use skill 2, shatter and then phantasm, the illusion lack downtime will be too large. So yeah, this is like the next step, and you should really like pause the video right now and go to the golem. I mean, you should do that first to auto attack only, then you should try to shatter a few times with 3 illusions, then you maybe try to do that on golem, like the full rotation with the shatterings. Now we can improve that a bit to fit another skill into those. Basically, we have 3 illusions once again. You will see that before the phantasm spawns, we still have some tiny bit of extra time that we can use before our shattering. So the plan is to, after we use skill 4-5, we will use either axe 3 or our dodge. And after this, of course, axe 2, shattering, and one of the deception skills. And this reduces the downtime of our illusions even more, because like they're gonna be really up quickly. Execution may look like this. And yeah, we have them. And also I dodged and I blocked ambush skill. Just reset the cooldowns, and then pistol with X3 it might look like this. And yeah, try to practice this thing only on the golem, at least like a couple of times, so you feel comfortable with it. Basically, this is the part like the preference of what you're gonna use after the 4-5 skill. You can use your axis of symmetry, you can use your dodge, it's up to you really. For example, if you are gonna use axis of symmetry, then your dodge, like your endurance, will grow a bit, that you will be able to, right after shattering, dodge with 3 illusions, and to continue your rotation. And that's quite cool, because, like I told you before, any skill that interrupts our auto-attack chain is really good to proc the ambush skill. So yeah, for example like this. And we can proc it. Also remember again to weapon swap and dodge immediately. If you like stop anything that you're doing, including, for example, your skills, which is quite important. For example, your axis of symmetry or any other skill can be interrupted by weapon swap. For instance, as you can see, I hold it in the air, and I did not finish axis of symmetry. This can be actually done by any skill, and it works on any class really. You can interrupt any skill. So it's not like only Mirage thing. But you should keep that in mind, like really. Also, this video might be a bit chaotic, by the way, because I didn't like write a script for myself. From the tips that I think are cool is also that you should always finish your third auto-attack chain, and you can either look at your character when it's spinning, it's really obvious, and then for example weapon swap or then dodge or use skill, because your third auto-attack inflicts the most conditions, like both bleeding and torment. Or you can try to get along with the speed of the bar. It changes a bit with third auto-attack, but it's not that easy to spot. However, in raids with full rotation, luckily you will not use auto-attack that often, really. You will mostly use your skills. When there's going to be auto-attack, it's going to be like 1 or 2 chains, because then there's going to be skill to use or weapon swap to happen. Apart from this, general tips is, for example, you might ask, after I use the Phantasm and use the Shatters, should I use Crystal Sands or Jaunt? Basically, as you can see that, for example, the Phantasm are 20-second cooldown, and Crystal Sand is also 20-second cooldown. So you will have it available all the time when you are on the torch and you are shattering. And this is quite cool, that the cooldowns align with each other. However, now we can talk about the next step, that is called basically Shatter Storm or Shatter Spam, because you can use shatters on both weapon sets. Basically what that means is that even though our F2 will not be available, we will still use our shatters. And the order at which we want to shatter, like the most damage we get from F2 of course, then F1, and the F4 or F3 doesn't really matter that much. So for instance, if I'm gonna use Phantom skills, I'm gonna shatter, I'm gonna swap the pistol of course, I'm gonna do something, and now I can use... oh shit, I didn't use F1. My bad, I'm sorry. Anyway, we're gonna try again, without me failing. So, I'm gonna use Phantoms. Weapon swap the pistol, of course. And now I can use like 3 and 4. Oh, I think I did use F1 previously, it's just such low cooldown. So basically we again have this available, so we can use anything. Shit, I'm bad, sorry. So yeah, we weapons up again, and we have this tool on cooldown, so we can use them. And this basically gonna repeat into infinity. You will always have at least 2 on cooldown. And also, you basically, like, your weapon swap cooldown is 10 seconds. You are on the, one of the, like, you are on torch every 20 seconds, and you are on pistol every 20 seconds. Also, like, your phantasm cooldown is 20 seconds as well. And we already talked that Crystal Sand is also 20 seconds cooldown, and the counter charge on Jaunt is also 20 second cooldown, which is really cool. That means that even if you shatter at every weapon swap, at every phantasm spawn, you will still be able to use one of the deception skills. You can even like choose that when I'm on torch, I'm gonna use Crystal Sands. When I'm on pistol, I'm gonna use Jaunt. Which also means that we will have 2 counts of Jaunt available all the time. This can be used solely for DPS purpose, like you can double Jaunt at the beginning, or you can save them for the mechanics. For example, on Matthias you can Jaunt from like when you're dropping poison, or when anything happens and you need it, you can Jaunt through the walls on Smina. You can, for example, Jaunt back to the boss when you are dropping water on the twins. There's a lot of cool stuff. I recommend not to using all of them. I usually just save them because it's just safe, and like one Jaunt here and there doesn't really matter that much for the DPS. Which can bring us to the healing skill. There are 2 variations, one Signet of Aether, and there also is False Oasis. On the benchmark videos you will see that people are using them, basically because it's small DPS increase. The Signet of Aether allows you to recast your Phantasm, like this. Okay, I have 2 of them, and it's quite a lot of bleeding, as you can see. Right. When it comes to... wait, I need to get out of combat. Yeah, Jaunt is also great to reset your cooldown. And when it comes to healing oasis, it will make this oasis, and after a few seconds it's gonna be mirror, and you can proc ambush skill. Cool thing about the mirror thingy is that basically it allows you to perfectly fit your ambush skills. For example, if I'm gonna dodge and use healing skill, the mirror that will come from this skill will basically happen after my like one auto attack chain. I think so. So let's try it.
Never saw it coming.
Alright, 1.5 auto attack chains. But still, like, it's good time to basically you can just like use it and wait for it to proc next amber skill. Which brings us to the next thing that I forgot to talk about. Which is, wait, let's get this straight really quickly. Which is the mirrors. Basically, you should never ever, like, you need to manage your endurance and mirrors correctly, because your illusions doesn't have quickness on them. I do, and I can proc it like really quickly. I can proc one, I can proc another, but they don't. They didn't do the second amber skill. And same goes for like one. You should complete one auto attack chain after every dodge to give them time to use it again. But also same applies for getting a lot of mirrors, which I can get. Like this. I have shit ton of them and I can pick them up. And if I do this in raid, I would just fuck up the whole thing because it's really inefficient. Lastly, when it comes to like personal preference, I mean those two healing skills come to personal preference because they do the same amount of DPS basically if you use them. Like recasting your Phantasm and gaining one amber skill is basically the same. At least someone wise told me that. When it comes to healing though, keep in mind that when you spawn Oasis, you need to stand inside of it to get the healing. You can't move, basically, and it kind of sucks. When it comes to Signet, it spawns, it heals you for some if you spawn Illusion. Remember that you spawn Illusion with your Phantasms, with X2, and Deception skills, and there's quite a lot of Illusions getting spawned. I would say that this has like nice passive healing, basically in your rotation. That is if you don't use it. If you use it, then this might get you downed or dead sometimes with like unorganized groups of if you are bad. So usually I just stick with Signet and I don't even use it because the DPS increase isn't that great, and yeah, I like to have like, oh I fucked up button. The next thing that we can talk is basically when to use skills. And like, is it for example efficient to use X2? You might ask. Basically, the purpose of X2 is to spawn illusions, with one exception. X2 is worth, because like the damage and conditions are bad on this skill. There is one exception of this, is if you have ethereal fields, because X2 is a word finisher, and in any field like this you will do the bolts, confusing bolts, and then it's worth, like I just got 6 confusion stacks out of the skills. And with like basically you get ethereal fields from chronomancers most of the time. So for example, if you are on the Smina and you have just chronos and mirages, then great, you can use X2 just for the DPS purpose. However, if you have like all the shitty classes, like I don't know, Dragon Hunter with the light fields, and you're just gonna do Condiclans bolts, it's not worth. The other thing is that you should always use Axe-free whenever possible, because basically it's a lot of it's great sorts of confusion. When it comes to Crystal Sands and Jaunt, we talked about this, and you should basically use them with the Phantasms. The cooldown lines really well, and that's basically it. So basically we're just gonna dodge and auto attack. We don't have phantasms, we use them of course, even though I don't have any illusions I can use them. I'm gonna use Axe 3 of cooldown when I have full endurance and can dodge. I'm gonna do so autos, I'm gonna dodge again, make a weapon swap, I'm gonna dodge because I have full endurance. Axe 3 is at cooldown, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna dodge again, I can use phantasms with the dodge. Axe freeze again of cooldown. I can use my dodge because I have endurance, I have weapon swap available. There's a lot of shit going on and you need to control that. And allowing your cooldowns accordingly. Basically, for the new player, try to really, I encourage you to start with auto attacking, with getting your muscle memory to dodge after weapon swapping, then try to shatter a few times without using any skills, like any other skills. Like you can, for example, only shatter on torch and don't even touch the pistol skills. Don't even touch like Axe 3. Use only F2 and F1, that's it. Then try to bring some other skills, like try to get your Axe 3 whenever possible. Then try to shatter on both weapon sets. And then try to make like a symphony out of those skills. Because yeah, playing Mirage is really satisfying, at least for me, because there is no rotation and you need to adapt, which brings a lot of knowledge into the rotation. I could talk briefly about Scepter now. Wait. Basically, Scepter is good on two bosses, on the Smina and on Twins. For not highly organized groups, it might be even better, because it's ranged weapon and you don't need to stay very closely to the boss, which is great. Also it spawns illusion on auto attack, which helps your passive healing on those bosses, which might help. The main difference is your skill 3 and the way that you can shatter. Your skill 3 is like a beam that is a bit annoying because you need to face the boss, and it applies a lot of confusion actually on short cooldown. And this is basically like Axe 3, it also applies confusion, and you should use it whenever possible. When it comes to Shattering on Scepter, first of all, your skill 2 also creates illusions. Basically it's like a block, but if you don't block or don't do anything, it will not do anything. However, like most block skills, you can recast it to spawn illusion really quickly. I'm gonna just double press it. There it is. When it comes to Shattering, usually a good thing is to use, again, for 5 shatters, skill 2 and skill 3. It has really short cooldown and it should be available most of the time when you shatter. So I quickly double pressed skill 2, and when I was channeling my skill 3, I had my illusion spawn. You can also like jump at the after skill 3 to make 30 illusions really quickly. And basically that's the only difference. It's a bit annoying to use Scepter sometimes, but the results are really good, and I personally like it. But yeah, I'm not gonna go into Scepter into details, because like the auto attack on Scepter is even more fucked up than on Axe. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Maybe I will do another video on Mirage, I'm not sure. I will try to post in description or after this some like random my rotation that I'm doing. So yeah, subscribe and all that bullshit, because I have 2 subscribers only. I need money out of this. And have a good night.